What up, everybody? I just broke off. Thought this was giving me a little time to give you guys a setup tutorial. I'm gonna go real quick because the water's rising, but I want to just show you guys what you can and can't do to catch these fish. First thing you want to start off with is tubing for your float. Float tubing goes on your line before anything else does. If you don't do that, you're gonna screw yourself and put it on your float. So, first thing you do, get a piece of float tubing that's the size of the top of your float. That's what I like to do, at least, or at least a little bit smaller, so it'll cover most of it, then your line won't get all slack on your float. Then secondly, you put a small piece of tubing on, just a little guy, just to hold this thing tight to the base of your float, which is right here. You're gonna put that on right there for that portion. And then the next part's gonna be a little bit longer because you want your plastic to hang down just a hair past the bottom of your float. So let's see. Cut a longer piece off. Well, the next thing that I like to do, so everything doesn't fall off, is to put on your micro swivel. Now, I think I use a size 8 or 10. I can't quite remember micro swivel, but this is what they look like. Just little tiny guys, little girls right there. Put that on. Do whatever knot you'd like. People are real particular about their knots. I'm more or less just a fisherman knot type of guy, old school with it. I give myself a lot of room so you can use some of this line that might have been stretched on previously. And then tie your knot up, 7 twists or more, whatever whatever you want, really. I think with that knot, sometimes less is more and more is less, so never know. I just do a bunch of knots until I feel like it's good enough. Slip your knot back through your line. The next thing to remember is when you're tying a fisherman's knot, always wet it. Goober all over it. Get it nice and wet. That helps your line from getting friction in it. Helps your knot seal too. And it should just pull right down to your hook, like so. Give it a little more love. There. And then you get a beautiful fisherman's knot. That. So next thing to remember is what I like to do. Some guys will start putting their lead on right now. I'm not going to do that yet. I like to tie a leader on first. Small leader. I use blood run leader, 6 pound. Most all year for steelhead, rainbows, brown trout, salmon. Doesn't really matter. This stuff will do it all. It's tough. Make sure your leader also, you always want to use a fluorocarbon leader, 6 pounds. And then your backer, you want to be monofilament. So again, I'll tie this knot back on here again, the fisherman's knot, to the bottom of the swivel again. Boom, boom, like so. Twist that up a little bit. This is the hardest one to twist on because it's already connected in one spot and swiveling. So this knot's always a pain in the butt along this part. So once you get your knot tied on there, all right. So you get your twist in your knot and your line, go back through the hole. Like so. And then up. You're going to see that little tiny crescent at the top right there. You want to put this little slack line back in through it, right there. If you don't, it's not going to be a knot. It's going to be a slip knot. And as in slip knot, I mean the fish is going to come off and slip right the fuck away. So you tie that nice and tight like so. Boom. Again, you get another perfect little fisherman's knot. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, right there. You get another little perfect fisherman's knot. Water's murky right now. So the next thing you do down here is pick out your bead. You know, whatever you want. Right now it's bead season. The egg sac drift is coming to an end. They're loving the beads though. There's all types of bead in the water. There's sucker spawn. There's still some rainbow eggs. So this time of year is good for bead fishing. It's late April. I'm running right now a 10mm bead. Water's really high, a little bit murky. It's actually like chocolate milk almost. And then put on your hook. Hook size doesn't really matter right now because the water's murky, but I'm running size 10 Blackbird hooks. I use blood run hooks also, but Blackbird hooks seem to be what I like to run mostly. They're more, I don't know, they're just easier to get my hands on where I'm located. You can get them at Dick's Sporting Goods. You can get them if you go to Pulaski Fishing, or you can get them wherever you want. But, you know, most fishing stores have Blackbird hooks. It's hard to get blood run unless you order it. It takes a while because it goes across country because they're on the West Coast. But right here, go back through. Same thing, fisherman's knot. Just got to get her tied on there. Back through the hole like you're supposed to. Back through the hole. And you grab your line, spit on it, pull it tight. And boom, again, another good fisherman's knot. It's really important that you really pull it tight to the bottom of your hook. Oh, that sucker is sharp. It just stabbed my lip. It's really important that you pull it tight to the bottom of your hook. And you always want about 1 foot to 1.5 foot leader. I like starting off with about 1.5 foot leader because when I break off a bunch of times and need to tie back on a new hook or change bead, you don't want to tie on a new leader every single time. So then use your peg. You can pick red, blue, green, orange, clear. They come in all different types of colors. I run clear pegs. That's just my thing. I'd rather just have the bead be the presentation and not the peg. Maybe if I can get my peg through, to show you. Boom, put the bead on. You want to put your bead, always put your bead 2 fingers to 1.5 fingers above your hook. That's the best spot. It'll bite when the fish bite the bead. You set the hook, it's going to pull right into the corner of their mouth almost every single time. Always run it about that far away from your hook. All right, now that portion of the setup is done. So now we go to our lead. I'm using 5 grams of Raven split shot, depending on where I put it. I don't know where I put it. Now I always start off with a blood run SSG at the top, right below my float. When you do this, I almost just messed up myself, but when you do this, make sure, always make sure, start putting your split shots on below your tubing, your float tubing. So there, I start with the SSG, that's a 1.8 gram, and then I go from there. Then you just do your counts. That's the easiest way to count it is 1.8. I like to do like 18 to 50. So right there is the 18, then plus 0.8. So you do that like this. You do 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, plus another 8, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. Then you get to 3.4. It's already where I'm at. And I'm only using 5 grams. So once I get to 3.4, I start moving down to smaller shot, which is a BB size, size number 4. Those are 0.4 grams of lead. You come off of that, so I say 3 point, what the heck was I just saying? 3.4? Now we're at 3.8. Oh, maybe not. Now we're at 3.8. We're at 4.2. Then we're at 4.6. Then you slide on. Then you can move down a size, actually, is what I'm going to do, because that's what you're supposed to do, but I'll do it for the TV. I usually don't. I usually go pretty ape wild with my patterns. Down to a 0.2 gram. So now, they say all these floats, they're never perfect. You're never going to get the exact weight on there. So I had to run a couple 0.2s over. So right now, like I said, that's 4.8. Now we're at 5 already, right here with this next 0.2. And I move down one more. All the way down at the bottom of the swivel, right to the swivel. I run one more. So now I'm at 5.2 grams of lead. And actually I'll put one more on, because usually when you catch a fish, your split shot flies all the way off and all over the place in these smaller sizes. So right now I have I should have 5.2 or 5.4 grams of lead on there, and we, ladies and gentlemen, are ready to go fishing. If your float setup does not look like this when it's all said and done, you are not setting up your float correctly. Your float and how it's set up makes a huge difference all the time. It's all about presentation and the sound and the noise. If your float tubing sits on your float funny, it's going to look funny. It's going to sound funny, and the fish are not going to like it. So I'll run like this. Make sure your line's running straight. Make sure your line's running straight up and down the side of your float, just like so, all the way up down through the tubing. And you want to bring your lead. When you do this, you want to bring your split shot or lead, whatever you're using, straight up to the bottom of your tubing. Oh, that popped off. Great. Well, you want to move it straight up here to the bottom of the tubing. That's where you want that first shot to be, right to the bottom of your float, right to the bottom of the tubing. You do not want the wooden part of the float right here tapping against the split shot. That makes noise, and the fish will hear it. But that's just a little tutorial on how I set up my stuff, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed watching it. Hopefully it helps you out. Again, float to your split shot, the same weight as your float, if not a little bit heavier, all the way down to a leader, to a swivel, to a leader, to a hook, and a bead. So that's how it works, guys. Hope you enjoyed watching. Keep watching Chum Chowder.